Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make this delicious ogbono soup. This soup, you need to give it a try, okay? So these are the ingredients I'm going to be using. Here I have my crayfish and just a little bit of ogiri. That is my blended ogbono. And in here I have my cubes, oil, red oil of course, smoked catfish in a hot salted water, scotch bonnet pepper, onion and fresh okra. And in there I have my beef and stockfish. So I'm going to start by seasoning the meat with stock and salt and also half of that onion that I showed you earlier. So I don't like adding water into the meat immediately, so I'm going to allow that meat to boil for 10 minutes before adding any water into it, but you can add water into yours at first, okay? So while the meat is cooking, I'm going to chop the onion in chunk because I'm going to be using my manual blender to blend the onion. So I'm done blending the onion and the scotch bonnet pepper. Now I'm going to grate my okra. You can use knife to slice your okra, okay? But this is the old classic method of making okra and ogbono soup. So I'm going to be using two sides. This is the bigger part of the grater and I'm going to be using the other side too. So I'm going to be having two different okra, but they are very good. But you can use only one side if that is what you like, okay? But these two sides give it a little bit more of that slimy okra and ogbono. So this is the smaller part. So I'm going to go ahead now to grate the okra and I will bring you back. I'm done grating the okra. I forgot to tell you that you can actually blend them as well, okay? So I'm going to be getting that okra out of the way, then we'll move over to the next step. Back to the meat, guys. This is after 10 minutes. The meat is cooking. I didn't add any stock, okay? I mean any water. Now I'm going to be adding a little bit water into it. You can add more water, depends on the quantity of the soup you're making, okay? So after adding the water, I'm going to put the lid on and allow the meat to cook until they are almost cooked. So here is the time. This meat, I'm going to be grilling them because I want to have this texture. We call it that time in Igbo language, we call it anongiga. You know, that is how our old grannies cook the ogbono soup. They use the anongiga, which is smoked meat, and it's delicious, guys. It's delicious. If you haven't tried this in ogbono and okra soup, you need to try it. So I'm going to grill that now. So the meat is in the oven and let's start this soup. I'm going to be adding 2 cooking spoons of red oil into my pot. I'm going to allow them to heat up before adding the onion. So now I'm adding the onion and the scotch bonnet pepper I blended earlier. I'm going to be giving them a quick stir. After that, I'm going to be adding my crayfish, and if you're using ogiri or iro, you are going to be adding them at this stage as well because it helps to give your soup a very nice taste after preparing them. So after adding the crayfish, stirring them, I'm going to allow that to cook for 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes before adding the ogbono. And before then, I'm going to season them with my nor cube and a little bit of aromat, just a pinch of aromat into it, which is optional, okay? So now it's time to add the ogbono soup. Like, this is a classic way I grew up learning how to cook ogbono. Okay, so I'm going to um stir this ogbono while melting them, because you need to try to melt the ogbono to remove that lumps in there, and this process takes about 2 minutes or so. Okay, so I'm going to be fast with that to make sure that I don't overcook the oil or the ogbono. So after melting the ogbono, to make sure that there is no lump inside, I'm going to be adding the okra. So now I'm going to be throwing the okra into the ogbono. Make sure and give that a quick stir. You need to make sure that you mix them very well, like very well. And this process also take about 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, in on a medium heat. Don't use a very high heat while doing this. Okay. So after mixing the ogbono and the okra, that is when I'm going to be adding the mixed stock or normal water if you don't want to use the mixed stock. Okay, so here is my meat stock and the stockfish. I'm going to be adding them at this stage. Go ahead and stir everything. Normally when you grow up in your hometown, especially in Anambra State, I don't know about other parts of Igbo, our grannies, they use a broom to make this soup. They don't use spoon. The moment they add water, they will start using broom to stir them. So, but this is not in the village and I don't have broom, so I'm using my wooden spoon to get that done. So I'm going to give them a quick mix until they are well mixed, and the consistency the soup is not what I want, so I'm going to be correcting the consistency with a little bit more water. If you want to have a super thick ogbono soup, you can leave them. If you want to have a running ogbono soup, you can also always add water into yours. So after stirring them, I'm going to allow them to cook. I'm not going to be covering them, like putting the lid on. And before then, I'm throwing in my smoked catfish into the soup. Give it a quick stir as well. Then I will allow this to cook for 10 minutes. You don't want to uncook your ogbono soup, so I'm going to be cooking them in a medium heat for 10 minutes. Check the salt. If the salt or the seasoning you added is enough, you can always add to your taste. Okay, so as you can see, the soup are boiling. I didn't put the lid on because if you want to have very slimy ogbono and okra, so you don't want to put the lid on. So this is after 8 minutes actually, and the meat from the oven is ready. So I'm adding the meat. I didn't want to use all the beef that I grilled. I'm going to be leaving the rest in the freezer. So I'm giving them a quick stir. After that, I'm going to add another tablespoon of crayfish inside the soup. After that, I'm giving them a quick stir again before adding my spinach, which is the final thing to add inside here. If you don't want to use spinach, because spinach is like ugu leaf in Nigeria, but there is no ugu leaf here, this is why I'm using spinach. And if you want to use bitter leaf, it's very good as well. Okay, but before that, that is the scotch bonnet pepper, because the pepper inside wasn't enough, so I added another scotch bonnet pepper. And this is my frozen spinach adding into it. After stirring the spinach into the soup, you can like basically off the heat, because the heat from the soup will cook the spinach. But I'm going to be leaving this to cook for 2 minutes over a low heat before turning the heat off. So guys, we've come to the end of this video. This is after 2 minutes. The heat is off. Now I'm going to allow the soup to rest. This soup is so delicious, and that meat process, guys, you need to give it a try. Please share this video if you like it and subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up because it really helps a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Please share, like and subscribe. God bless you all. Bye.